live and direct from the Golden State. It's intelligent talk media, the Denice Gary Show. Now, here's Denice Gary.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denice Gary Show. This morning, as promised, I went to Hodell's restaurant for the discussion by Carl DeMaio on Yes on 6, repeal the gas tax. Remember that? Can everybody get a good look at that? Okay. Really important meeting. I wish the whole city of Bakersfield, the whole county of Kern had been there today. Really important information. So here we go. You know, we've had Barbara Reynolds, we've had Ken Hetke, we've had Mike Bigley, who's running for District 2 Supervisor, Board of Supervisors, District 2. We've had some great people talking about that terrible tax bond measure that's going to cost the people of Tehachapi about, what, 18,000 to 32,000 people, about $84 million or $86 million. Just dreadful. Well, wait till you hear what the Democrats have done with this SB1. It's called SB1, Senate Bill 1. They're here in the state of California. Let's go through it. I want to give you all the details. First, Senate Bill 1, which is, of course, supported by Democrat lawmakers, they say that it's to provide $130 billion for highways, roads, and bridges. That's your money, ladies and gentlemen. They want to tax you more. That's going to cost you and I and my producer and everybody else here in California $700 to $1,000 more a year in higher taxes. Just look at how your car registration went up if you've gotten your car registration bill. I just got mine and it has gone way up. Look at the money we're paying on our gas and look at your car registration. So last November, the base excise tax on gasoline increased by 12 cents. I didn't know that. Now, by the way, just so you will know, I went to verify the information that I was given today at the meeting by looking at online newspapers that include the Sacramento Bee, which you know is pro-liberal progressive. So even the Sacramento Bee is telling all of us that live here in Bakersfield and Kern County and up and down the state that it's going to cost us $130 billion a year. So I don't know if you realize this, but last November, according to the Sacramento Bee, the Democrat mouthpiece in Sacramento, that the tax on gasoline went up 12 cents per gallon. And this is to be an ongoing forever tax hike, right? So every year, according to the Sacramento Bee and according to what the Repeal the Gas Tax campaign said as well in the meeting, which is a Republican organization, they're both telling you this is a forever tax increase that the Democrats have passed through SB1. So the base excise tax for diesel fuel, if you put diesel in your car, increased by 20 cents per gallon last November. So gasoline went up 12 cents, that's a tax, and the diesel fuel went up 20 cents per gallon, and this will continue to adjust each and every year and go up, up, up. In January, a new transportation improvement fee was passed for car registrations that took effect through the Department of Motor Vehicles. The DMV previously had a base registration of $53. Now it's gone up, up, up. Some of you might get something by way of $175 or $100. And it will continue to forever go up. In July 2020, 2 years from now, a $100 road improvement fee is also going to kick in. So, ladies and gentlemen, even the Sacramento Bee points out that taxes and fees are expected to generate $52 billion for California's transportation needs. Well, there's the lie. There's the lie. So where has the money been spent? Okay, well, the organization, would you please put this on, I'm going to hand this to you. I want my producer to put this on Facebook for us. You can read all of this for yourself. Would you put up on Facebook? Well, let me give it to you later. I can't find it at the moment. I think it's just here it is. gastaxrepeal.org. Type in www. Ladies and gentlemen, go to www. Not right now, I'll just tell you the facts and you can share it out. But later, www.gastaxrepeal.org. gastaxrepeal.org. gastaxrepeal.org. Okay, so fact number one. Not only are Democrats in Sacramento raising your cost of living, did you know that California's state income tax is the highest in the nation? I didn't realize that. But California has the highest income tax. We're not talking about gas tax. I'm talking about just income tax right now. California has the highest income tax. I know John Cox, the Republican who's running for governor, is talking about how he wants to repeal the gas tax and lower people's income tax. Hallelujah. Let's vote for John Cox for governor. But California's cost of living is skyrocketing, and one of the issues is this gas tax. So, as I pointed out earlier, this new gas tax and car tax for your car registration is going to cost the typical family of four that's probably living on a strict budget about $700 more a year. Do you have an extra $700 more a year, Mr. Producer? I don't have an extra $700 more a year.
I don't even have extra 70 cents.
Oh, okay. All right. So $700. How are people going to pay for that? Fact two: the Democrats are stealing your money. There is not a single penny of the gas and car tax that is actually earmarked for road repairs. So, and based on further research I've done, I've come up with several tips that have been put out by whistleblowers that have been documenting the misuse of taxpayer funds in California by state and local transportation agencies. We'll get into that in a minute. But not a single penny has been earmarked for gas and car tax, even though they passed the gas and car tax. And they have shown a pattern of diverting the funds. Again, I'll get into that in just a moment. Fact three, talk about wasteful spending. Of the very little bit of money that's actually spent on roads, Caltrans is notorious for wasting that money. And apparently, and I've got it with me, an independent audit has revealed that billions have been spent by Caltrans on their own pet projects, not on California roads, not on California repairs, but on their pet projects. A coalition has now filed a ballot measure to, as I said, repeal the gas tax. So let's talk about this. So, after receiving numerous tips from whistleblowers about the misuse of taxpayer funds in California state and local transportation agencies, the Yes on 6 gas tax repeal campaign has issued 16 separate demands for records from the California Public Records Act. For example, I stapled all this together, excuse me. One whistleblower has provided documentation showing that a single bus driver for a local transit system here in California earned $227,000 in compensation last year alone. Can you imagine? Your taxpayers are paying over $200,000 for a driver of a local transit system? And now there's documentation to prove it through the Public Records Act. It's Government Code Section 6250, etc. So anyway, I just couldn't believe that, and I'm looking at the documentation. By the way, if you want more information, you can go to gastaxwastewatcher.com. I'll have my producer put this on at break. But www.gastaxwastewatcher.com. Check it out. This is an anonymous tip website. So if you know something dirty that Caltrans is doing, if you know how they're misspending your dollars, if you know how Democrats are taking that money that was supposed to go for road repairs and other transportation related repairs and updates, if you're aware of waste and corruption and fraud associated with the Democrats and Caltrans, this is the website you can report it on. Gastax Waste Watcher, waste, W-A-S-T-E, watcher.com. So tips have been received from several whistleblowers, which again prompted this campaign to repeal to repeal the gas tax. Yes on 6. So first of all, here are some of the issues that have actually been thoroughly documented. Number 1, payroll, compensation, and pension payouts. I just told you the example about the $227,181 in compensation to a single driver of the local transit system. So there's fraud and corruption when it comes to payroll, compensation, and pension. Number 2, illegal campaign expenditures, emails, contracts, records, and expenditures relating to public relations. Democrats and their public relations, their community outreach, public affairs, advertising, public education, polling, public opinion research, media outreach, op-ed writing. All this, your taxpayer dollars have gone to Democrats and these illegal campaign expenditures. Number 3, several questionable expenditures. For example, expenditures related to travel, alcohol consumption, vehicle purchases and use, furniture, and decorating expenses for people's offices. Number 4, real estate transactions, copies of all transactions and holdings related to commercial, retail, residential, or vacant land held by various transportation agencies. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The money that the Democrats passed a bill in order to collect from you has been spent on fraud, corruption, and waste. I was just horrified. And of course, the Republicans that are running, the gentleman running for the 32nd Congressional District, I believe no, it's not the Congressional District. It's it's Mendez. I believe he's running for the assembly seat, Justin Mendez. You want to vote for him. You want to vote for Vince Fong. You want to vote for Shannon Grove. These are Republicans. Vince Fong and Justice Mendez are running for assembly seats, of course. Mendez is for the 32nd district. Vince Fong is running for us here in the Bakersfield, Kern County area. We've got to get Republicans in office. They were all there talking about this fraud and corruption that's going on by the Democrats and how they're spending our hard-earned dollars to pay for. Can you imagine? Would you like to redecorate maybe your office or your home? Spending money on real estate transactions for commercial, retail, residential, or vacant land that's held by people that work for transportation agencies, by the transportation agencies themselves. And they want you and I to fork out an additional $700 this year out of our pocket so that they can ultimately have a $52 billion gas tax increase. This is what the Democrats are doing. They're raising our taxes, and it's hard to keep up, frankly, with all the taxes they're raising. John Cox, on his website, said he's going to begin, if he's elected, to be the next Republican governor of the state of California. He is going to repeal Jerry Brown's massive $52 billion gas tax increase that simply funnels more of your dollars into Caltrans, one of the most corrupt, this is what John Cox is saying, one of the most corrupt and inefficient bureaucracies on the planet, without building a single new road. But they managed to spend our dollars on all kinds of frivolous expenditures, like working to provide Democrats campaign funds. So there's a lot in terms of financial accountability that needs to happen in our state. Remember, I told you that there was an audit done, and Governor Jerry Brown came out and said, "Oh, I'm going to leave the people of California. I'm going to leave them so much in terms of millions of dollars in the budget," and come to find out that was a lie. And that Jerry Brown, when he leaves office, will be leaving the state of California in tremendous, tremendous debt. I didn't think to bring in the facts on that, but it was dreadful when I read that. I don't think it was in the millions. I think it was in the billions of dollars of debt here in California. Thank you, Jerry Brown. So I just hope that all of you will see how you can help. Let's get the word out. Share out this show. Share it out to everybody in the state of California that you know. We've got to say yes, yes on 6. Repeal the gas tax. Okay. Also, yesterday,
Denise,
yes.
I just found something. According to the California Policy Center, California's total state and local debt totals $1.3 trillion.
California?
That's what it says.
Where
The total includes
total
bonds, loans, and other debt instruments, as well as unfunded pension and other post-employment benefits promised to the public sector employees.
public sector 1.3 trillion. We're 1.3 trillion in debt.
Our estimate of California government debt represents about 52% of California's gross state product.
What source is this? What source?
Like I said, the California Policy Center.
The California Policy Center, excellent think tank. In fact, I had them on my broadcast, I think, earlier this year. I had a representative from the California Policy Institute. So it's 1.2 trillion?
1.3.
1.3 trillion.
And
Thank you, Jerry Brown. Yeah, great. Great job you've done. 1.3 trillion in debt. California Policy Institute. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
And I wonder how much of that is for the train to nowhere.
Right. Well, they funneled a lot of that taxpayer dollars into Dianne Feinstein's husband's pocket. But anyway, that's another story. I also want to remind all of you to go back and listen to yesterday's show if you missed it. I had a supervisor, Kern County Supervisor David Couch, on the broadcast, and we talked about that 1% sales tax increase that's going to go on the ballot. And as we found out yesterday, as I found out yesterday, there's the bargaining unit, the Kern Law Enforcement Agency, is negotiating with the staff of the Board of Supervisors, the CAO's office here in Kern County, the Human Resources Department, etc. And apparently it sounds like, from what I understood from Supervisor Couch, that there is some money in the general fund to provide Sheriff Youngblood with more sheriffs and to raise the salary. At least raise the salary so that once they go through the Sheriff's Academy, they don't, men don't then go over to the Bakersfield Police Department because they're going to get a higher wage for the same kind of work. So that needs to be taken care of immediately. Go back and listen to that interview with Supervisor David Couch yesterday. He was the only one on the Board of Supervisors to vote against putting a 1% sales tax increase on the ballot in November. I think it takes a lot of guts for him to stand up and come on the Denice Gary show and share out his thoughts on that issue. And so again, we want to thank Supervisor Couch for his insight yesterday on the Denice Gary show. We need to get the sheriff the manpower that he needs, and they need to be paid. These deputy sheriffs need to be paid a competitive wage. And apparently there's some ways to make that happen. So you need to contact your member that sits on the Board of Supervisors. So whatever district you're in, Letitia Perez, Mike Maggard, Zach Scrivener, Mick Gleason. Am I leaving anybody out? Perez, Maggard, Gleason, Scrivener, Couch.
That's five.
So, bottom line, you need to get a hold of your member on the Board of Supervisors. You need to call them, you need to send them a letter, send them a text, and say, hey, let's get out of the general fund some money to Sheriff Youngblood so he can pay these people a competitive wage so he stops losing personnel. Deputy sheriffs, I'm talking about deputy sheriffs. I'm not talking about clerical staff. I'm talking about deputy sheriffs who are out there patrolling and trying to keep our county, the county of Kern, safe and secure from these gangs, MS-13, Islamic terrorists that are coming across the border from Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, go listen to that show and please share it out. Okay. Let's take a break. It's 23 after, and we need to take a break. We have so much more. I'm wondering how many of you have heard about what's going on. Did I share this out with not Caltrans? I don't see it in my stack here. I wanted to share out what these contractors that are working for ICE are doing to screw the Customs Enforcement Agency, this federal agency that, of course, is enforcing our immigration laws. Wait till you hear about this. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Denice on the Denice Gary Show.
I want to tell you about a place I love to go. Frugati's Italian Restaurant. Very few locations here provide seating outside in front of a fabulous water fountain with an atmosphere that is reminiscent to me of eating outdoors in Venice. This is real Italian food by real Italians. And what makes it even more so is owner Ralph Frugoletti, who nearly a quarter century ago brought a wood fire oven from Milan, Italy to make, like his mother, fresh homemade bread and pizzas. Moreover, Frugati's Restaurant offers you not only the very best in Southern Italian cooking, even importing the finest ingredients for authentic Italian food, including a fitness menu. After all, Ralph has represented the United States and Italy, competing in the Master Championship Games. He knows all the right food for good fitness, so check out the menu. After today's broadcast, run over to Frugati's Italian Restaurant and Catering at 600 Coffee Road here in Bakersfield. And after a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday service, stop into Frugati's for a great lunch. I'll see you there, and tell Mr. Ralph Frugoletti that Denice sent you. Salute. Buon appetito.
Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to legal matters, contact Barb Reynolds. She is a contract paralegal to lawyers, and she will take good care of you. Moreover, she is a Kern County legal document assistant to pro per litigants. She has 47 years of paralegal experience, and for over 30 years has been an educator in the field of law and paralegal work. If you need help handling your adoption, bankruptcy, civil suit, divorce, debt consolidation, evictions, immigration, or attorney referrals, contact Barb Reynolds if you want to win your case. Call Tehachapi Court Services today at 661-822-1994. Barb is simply the best. Call Tehachapi Court Services today at 661-822-1994. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Denice Gary Show. I'm on daily, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Wanted to share this out. Just took my breath away. Apparently, the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, which, of course, does the hard work of course, working with Border Patrol agents and enforcing our immigration laws, sending the human traffickers, sending the human smugglers, sending Islamic terrorists, sending the MS-13 gang into our prison system or deporting them. They're doing the hard work of enforcing our immigration laws. And I just read this piece just the other day, and I didn't have time to share it until today. So here it is. It was reported out on July 26. I'm sorry, I'm just now have some time to get to it. But apparently the contractors that provide for example, the GEO Group. I hadn't heard of them before, but they're a private prison company that operates two ICE detention facilities in California. They're the largest ICE contractor that contributes to the Democrats. Apparently, according to this recent report, according to the GEO Group's campaign finance records, one of the companies donated $140,000 to the Democrats. I mean, just unbelievable that we have a president that's actually supporting the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, and we've got the groups that have been contracted, these contractors, spending $140,000 on Democrat campaigns. The revelation comes through this report. This report, where can you find it? Well, you can go to Breitbart.com, but the report was apparently in the East Bay Express. So if you go to the East Bay Express, I guess, and type in campaign finance records for contractors for ICE. The Democratic Party, which of course, as you know, has been calling to abolish ICE, is still receiving tens of thousands of dollars from the contractors that are getting paid. By President Trump and his administration. Kevin De Leon, the California Senate President, when I say California Senate President Pro Tem, in other words, you know, he's up there in the Sacramento, and he held an Abolish ICE cream social. Said abolish ICE, capital I, capital C, capital E, ice cream social. Just had an abolish ice cream social this month up in Sacramento, and he hosted several members of the Democratic Party. And of course, as you know, the Democrats have endorsed Kevin De Leon for U.S. Senate over incumbent Democrat Dianne Feinstein. And of course, he wants to abolish our border and abolish ICE. According to this report, 5 other corporations, including multinational consulting companies like Grant Thornton, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, as well as political action committees for defense contractors like Boeing and Northrop Grumman. Again, political action committees that work for defense contractors like Boeing and Northrop Grumman have a history of working with ICE. But collectively, they've given $75,000 to the Democratic Party. Really sad to hear. It says the California Democratic Party chair, Eric Bauman, elected in May 2017, declared this month in July that the state party isn't going to take money anymore from companies or trade associations that work with ICE. That's interesting. But then, of course, the East Bay Express reports that although the GEO group donated $65,000 of the $140,000 so far, Eric Bauman, the chair of the California Democratic Party, hasn't returned that money, but he's come out and said the California Democratic Party isn't going to take money anymore from contractors that do business with our U.S. federal agency, ICE. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. And by the way, just to be thorough, they gave the GEO group, while giving $65,000 to the Democrats, that's a good word, the rats of the Democrats, GEO contributed a much smaller amount of $40,000 to the California Republican Party. So, anyway, thought you ought to know that. You know, ICE, I guess ICE has to know that. I wonder if the president knows that. I need to tweet the president this information when I go home later. Go straight to my office at home and tweet this out to the president. I just wonder if he wouldn't fire all of these contractors that are working for ICE and hire somebody that is going to be supportive of making America great again, the agenda of the President of the United States. Okay, all right, so President Trump has now, as of Saturday, President Trump, as of this last Saturday, declared California an emergency, declared a California emergency. So I want you to know that President Trump, as of last Saturday, has been sending over 10,000 firefighters that are battling these 21 fires. And he's authorized the Federal Emergency Management Agency to release disaster response equipment and resources. Plus, the President of the United States has authorized U.S. military personnel and Defense Department assets to be utilized in California. So the President was on it as of last Saturday morning. And so the Department of Defense and defense contractors are now assisting the California firefighters, and from what I understand, military veterans. I saw an interview of a Marine veteran on the news yesterday, and he and military veterans are out there, and he was, of course, a Marine. His team, his Marine veterans together, were working to help put out the fires. I thought that was beautiful, and really touching how these military veterans just continue to give and give and give back to the people of the United States. And I'm so thrilled that President Trump authorized, he told Congress, he told the Democrats and Republicans, I want a pay raise. I want a pay raise for our servicemen and women that are out there fighting and our veterans. And thank God that was passed, and that's part of the budget. And the whole idea that now they can go and get some private health care. They don't have to stand in line at a VA facility. They have now some choices that they can make when they get their medical care that they desperately need. And I was thrilled. I'm just so glad we have a president that really cares about our men and women that are out there fighting, as well as our veterans. And I want to say, this isn't local or state, but I want to mention it. There's been a lot of criticism against the president over the fact that apparently there's been some intelligence information that's come out. I believe some satellite imagery. There's 17 different intelligence agencies that work 24/7 on behalf of the United States of America to keep us safe. And this probably came from the satellite intelligence agency within the intelligence field. And apparently it shows that North Korea is still working on building a particular missile. And I want to say this. Thanks to President Trump, we just got 55, the remains of 55 military personnel. And so there are 55 more families that are going to have closure, and I believe there are more on their way. And it's not just that. You know, when the president met with Kim Jong-un at the Singapore summit earlier this year, it was a step. For people to expect, for the Democrats or even Republicans, for the public for that matter, to expect that one meeting, that one summit means that Kim Jong-un is suddenly going to end every aspect of their nuclear weapons program would be terribly naive. I don't think that Kim Jong-un could sustain a coup attempt. I mean, if the dictator of North Korea didn't do something to maintain their nuclear weapons program at this point, he'd probably be assassinated quite quickly and effectively. So, let's give the president some credit. We're no longer seeing North Korea fire ballistic missiles over Japan. We don't see North Korea firing any small, medium, long-range, or intercontinental ballistic missiles. And we do not know of any test firing that's gone on, at least that I know based on my research and resources. So we haven't seen that from North Korea. Remember, that was going on just every other month. North Korea was firing off a missile, right? So that stopped, thank God. And the conversation between the countries is become much better. Whereas before, under President Obama, it was heating up. And then President Trump said, we'll wipe you out in an instant. Don't mess with us. And now North Korea has stepped back. And some of the nuclear weapon sites have been dismantled. So they saw some imagery of something being built. Okay, give it a minute. This is the president's second year in office. I'm sure he'll continue to negotiate as best he can with Kim Jong-un and anybody else. And to be critical of the fact that the president likes to go meet with people and talk to them, the fact that he comes from a place within himself that he believes that by reaching out and talking with people eyeball to eyeball, which I personally think is far more effective than talking to anybody by phone or, through a State Department representative, I think that it's fabulous that we have Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, but there's nothing like, think about it, there's got to be nothing like a brutal, vicious dictator to come eyeball to eyeball with the leader of the free world, the President of the United States, and not have that impact negotiations. And I'm thrilled that this president is willing to meet with people like Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin and leaders in Iran and everybody else and speak plainly. Speak plainly to them about what is going on and what they need to do to set things right, to make things right. That's called leadership. And thank God we have that kind of leader in the White House. I understand that a lot of people criticize him because he doesn't come across as presidential. But how many people that have come across presidential have done the really hard work and accomplished what President Trump has done in less than 2 years in office? I name one president that's accomplished in a year and a half what this president has accomplished. He might not come across stylistically as presidential, but he's done the hard work of being a president. And you got to give him all the credit for that. Speaking of the president, I ran across this. A recent Emerson College poll, this was an Epoll from Emerson College, just pointed out that a survey of Hispanic voters has stated that they believe that they are better off, as of course we know they are, that the Hispanic voters have stated they are better off under the Trump economy than they were under the Obama economy. And of course, well, we know it. And so Emerson College released this new poll that, uncovered that 62% of Hispanics believe they are better off with Donald Trump as president as opposed to Barack Obama, and 40% believe they're better off economically. So despite the Democrats and the media smear campaign to make the President of the United States look bad, to disrespect his position and leadership, apparently he's doing very well according to this Emerson poll. So among Hispanics and Democrat voters. So I think it's possible, according to this poll, that the president, he won in 2016, and he put blue states like Colorado and Nevada in play. Maybe he will win. Maybe he will win these states and more in 2020. But I just wanted to share that out. This president is a winner. And there are more people, despite any numbers, there's more women employed now in America than in the history of the United States under President Trump's policies. There's more Hispanics, there's more African Americans, there's more people that are non-white that are employed right now than in any other time. I hope people think about their pocketbooks when they vote for Trump, and vote for Trump in 2020. And I hope they think about their pocketbooks and vote for John Cox for the governor of California, because he's going to repeal these taxes. And you know that Mark Moiser, who's running for Secretary of State, is going to clean up the fraudulent voting in this state. And you know the man that's running for Attorney General, the Republican candidate, Stephen Bailey, for Attorney General, is going to walk back these lawsuits by the state of California that are constantly suing the President of the United States and the Trump administration for standing against sanctuary statehood and policies that make it impossible for law enforcement personnel to work with ICE and other agencies that are trying to protect us. I've got a few more minutes. I wanted to say something about the president, one of the president's attorney, Jay Sekulow. I don't know. This is a Christian man. He's on I believe he's on the Christian Broadcasting Network. Is he not? He has a show on the Christian Broadcasting Network.
I believe so. I know that he goes live at 9:00 in the morning
on Christian radio. Carrie. On Carrie. Yeah. So. And of course, I used to be on Carrie, so I know about Jay Sekulow because I knew that Jay Sekulow came on Carrie, and I used to come on Carrie every Tuesday at 1. So anyway, kind of missed that actually, but being handed an opportunity to be on 5 days a week at 5, I took it. On Christian radio, I don't know if you realize it, but you have to pay. I had to pay between $400 and $500 every month to be on Christian radio. This is more manageable to be here and until, of course, God opens another door. But anyway, I wanted to share what one of President Trump's lawyers, Jay Sekulow, put out today. This was in my inbox today, talking about an urgent deadline to defend dying Christians. I've mentioned this before. In Pakistan, it's really horrific, and I just wanted, if you're a praying person, I know a lot of people listening to the show aren't Christians or Jews and may not pray, but if you are somebody who prays and believes in God, Christians, Jews wouldn't stand a chance in Pakistan. I doubt there are any Jews in Pakistan. But there are Christians. They are a minority, a small minority in Pakistan, and Christians are arrested. They get accused. I was talking to a Christian Egyptian that fled Egypt on Saturday night. I was invited by a former student to attend a baby shower at the church, at the Coptic church there on White Lane. And a group of the women came to sit with me at the table. And we got to talking. And one of the women that had come from, her and her husband had come from Egypt, they had been slandered. What happens in Muslim countries a lot of time is if a Muslim sees that you have a business, then they want to take it from you. They will slander you and say you said something about Prophet Muhammad, or maybe you dropped the Quran on the ground and that you've defiled the holy book, or that you've blasphemed the prophet. Sometimes just by virtue of the fact that if you say out loud so other people can hear you that you're a Christian, you're considered somebody who's blaspheming the Prophet Muhammad, because you would dare to say that you were a Christian in front of other Muslims. And that in and of itself is what's called a violation of the blasphemy laws. There are blasphemy laws in Muslim countries like Pakistan. I know one man was beaten to death because he dropped a card from a businessman, and the businessman's first name was Muhammad. And he dropped it, and that was considered disrespectful to the Prophet Muhammad because this businessman had the name of Muhammad as his first name. So a mob, when word started to spread, he was surrounded, and he was beaten. He was beaten to death by a mob in Pakistan. So anyway, Jay Sekulow, one of the attorneys for President Trump, sent this out that his office on the ground is in Pakistan is fighting against the U.S. taxpayer-funded Pakistani government in court. I thought President Trump withdrew our aid to Pakistan, but apparently there must be something going to him. So, because this just came out today. So apparently the Pakistani government is receiving some U.S. taxpayer funds, is fighting against the U.S. taxpayer-funded Pakistani government to defend Christians. Okay, so this Christian mother, who I've seen her precious little girls, well, they're not so little anymore, but anyway, this Christian mom, her name is Asia Bibi, and she's been on death row. She's been raped and beaten, and she's been held in a dungeon for years. We really need to pray. She's been on death row, and they want her to hang because, for what I understand, she actually drank from a cup that Muslim women were drinking from. They were out there working in the hot sun, and everybody was dipping this cup in and drinking this water. I think she drank from the same cup. And she's considered unclean. She's a dog. She's considered unclean because she's a Christian. So she shouldn't have drank from that cup. And she's been in prison now for years and been beaten and tortured. Also, Jay Sekulow reported, please pray for her immediately release and for the immediate opportunity for not only Asia Bibi to be released from prison, but for her family to escape from Pakistan. In China, Jay Sekulow noted that house churches are being targeted and that children in China are banned from going to church. And Jay Sekulow, his organization, is fighting at the United Nations for Chinese Christians that are facing a new wave of government crackdown. So you can pray for that. In Nigeria, Christians are being slaughtered by jihadists. I shared that out. Several hundred have been killed of late. In Iraq and Syria, Christians, of course, are facing genocide. And I used to report that out all the time when I was on Christian radio. But these people need our prayers. They are being persecuted and arrested and tortured and killed for their faith. And this is why Jews have really virtually left every Muslim country. I think there's just a handful that have tried to escape from Iran but haven't been able to as yet. I think there's a handful maybe left in Yemen. There's been a civil war. It's been difficult, to get out. escaping some of these countries is sometimes extremely difficult. So, again, and please, as you know, President Trump has really worked, and he and his administration have worked to get this U.S. pastor from North Carolina, Pastor Andrew Brunson, and he's now released from prison, but he's in house arrest. He could go back to prison at any day and be killed. You know what can happen? He can be headed back to prison, and just suddenly, mysteriously, something happens to him, and oh, he's dead. Right? He needs to get out of Turkey. So let's keep praying for these people. I appreciate President Trump's attorney, Jay Sekulow, being supportive of Christians worldwide, and I appreciate the fact that Vice President Mike Pence is working on this issue. We so appreciate that. Wanted to share out before I go today also that, we've been talking about Turkey. I didn't know if you knew this, but I want you to know that 40% of girls under the age in Turkey are forced into marriage. They're called child brides. And this is, of course, throughout the Muslim world. But I'm just thinking, all of us here in California and across the country need to send a message to President Trump. I don't know how much he knows about all this, but we need to let him know that 40% of girls are forced into marriage as minors. 40% of girls under the age of 18 are forced into marriage. They're called child brides. It's happening all over. It needs to end. I think that this president could use that as leverage to say, if you want to remain in NATO, President Erdogan, who's an Islamist to the core of his being, as are his supporters in government, he could say to President Erdogan, you know what, let's correct this issue, and let's release all the Christians, any Jews you may have in a Turkish prisons. Let's release them. Let them go back to Israel. Let them come home to America, wherever they're from. They could be from the Philippines. They could be from a European country. A lot of Christians go into Muslim countries too. Serve as humanitarian workers or as missionaries. In January 2018, a government body under President Erdogan suggested that girls as young as 9 and boys as young as 12 could marry. Average schooling in Turkey is about 6.5 years, so you're lucky to get an elementary school education, and to think that the masses have maybe an elementary school education of 6.5 years is dangerous. And in Turkey, you can abuse girls and get away with it. The harassment of the female sex is terrible in that country. Also, real quick, this wasn't in California. This was north of California. This was in the state of Washington. A 13-year-old girl was walking her dog in Vancouver, and she saw someone throw a plastic bottle from an SUV and drive off. It was a Molotov cocktail. It exploded in her hand. What a bloody, bloody, awful thing that was. Anyway, it was reported on KPTV up there in the state of Washington. So I just understand that, jihad is real, and the fact that someone would throw out a bottle, which is in essence a bomb, and the fact that it exploded in this little girl's hands, that's intentional. Happens all the time. Happens all the time in many parts of the world and in Israel. In fact, Israel had to shut down the Hamas, the Islamic Resistance Movement television station near Ramallah in Israel because of the constant incitement of terrorism against innocent Israeli civilians and their children. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's say our prayers. Let's thank President Trump and Vice President Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and all those in the Trump administration that are really working towards, raising this issue of religious freedom, not just here in the United States, but around the globe, and are standing up against the political correctness that seems to monopolize the public school system in which many of us work. And thank God for that, too. So thank you so much for listening to the Denice Gary Show, and we will be right back tomorrow on Wednesday. This is Denice, signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Denice Gary Show. Intelligent talk media.